Welcome back, everyone. Personally, for me, this is the best and the favorite part of the day. The masterclass is going to be so much fun. Yesterday, we had an elementary class. Today, we have a secondary class. We have Yugina here to teach us and a set of wonderful students. Yugina is a firm believer of social science and not social studies. That's precisely her for teaching the subject to 10th graders. In her time, both online and offline, she has made an effort to incorporate content teaching with access and exposure. Always making an effort to simulate a real life classroom experience has been her endeavor in the last 5 months of blended learning. We also have Emma. All of you know Emma by this time. We have seen her for the last 2 days. Emma is back again. So for the 30 minutes, we will have the lesson. Then last 15 minutes, Emma will talk to Yugina about her lesson, how it went, just to understand a little bit more about the classroom. And as usual, we have a wonderful set of students. Welcome all of you to this live masterclass. Thank you so much for letting us into your classroom. Very excited to have you here. Over to you for the next 45 minutes.
Right. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you so much, everyone, for this experience. Good evening, first of all, to begin with. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm going to start sharing my screen so that you can see the PPT. Please give me a thumbs up if you all can see my PPT. Right. So the lecture is going to be about political science, chapter 4, political and social movements. We are drawing an analogy from the book Animal Farm. There was some pre-work to this lesson, which is already done by the students, which is already done by everyone. They were divided into 5 groups. They were asked to read the book Animal Farm by George Orwell. Now, some of you also chose to go through the summary and a movie by Alison Bachelor. You were further asked to come up with an analogy in order to understand various social and political movements or systems of oppression through this book. After going through the summary, you were required to start working on a news article that you wish to publish as a group. Apart from this, there has also been some textbook information, factual textbook information that has been covered. So chapter 4 from political science 10th grade, what is a movement, and different discussing just different political and social movements that started in our country, right from the tribal movements to the women's movement to labor movement, and rest all of this has been covered before. This is just an advanced class. It is going to be based mostly on analysis and more in-depth learning. Basically, it's a more advanced class, right? So all this is already clear. All this is already done. Can we all get a thumbs up if you all know what I'm talking about? Great. So let's move on. So this is the flow of the lesson. Objective, what we know till now. Drawing analogies, which is going to be led by you, which is done by you. I would be moderating, and major takeaways from this lesson. 6 minutes, 15 minutes, and 5 minutes. That's exactly how we are going to have, and a little bit of buffer time in between. Right. So first, let's begin with writing down the objective. Can you quickly write down the objective? I'm giving you 1.5 minutes to write down the objective. While you're writing down the objective, I'm going to explain a little bit about the objective. We will be able to analyze and break down various social and political movements across the world, as well as our country, through drawing an analogy with the book Animal Farm by George Orwell. The book was written in 1954, but it still has so much relevance. It holds so much value when it comes to studying social science. Apart from that, we will also be able to make an outline of the newspaper article that you will eventually write on the same. So it's an outline that we are going to draw that you should be able to write. 30 seconds more to write down the objective. Once you're done, please give me a thumbs up quickly. Thank you, Arshada. Waiting for others. Thank you, Trupti. Waiting for a few more and then I move on. Thank you, Loita, Vedika. Right. So these are the 2 objectives that we are going to work upon. How did I get this idea? So as you all know what happened in Hathras a few days back, this is one of the quotes that I read on Twitter, where Shekhar Gupta, who's also editor-in-chief of the print, wrote, rewritten Orwell for Uttar Pradesh. All dead people are equal. Some dead people are less equal than others. So I thought that the relevance of this book, especially in social science, this relevance is absolutely phenomenal, and we can definitely go ahead and draw analogies from it, right? So let's begin with the first discussion that we are going to have. And you are going to engage a lot now. What we already know. What is it that we already know? The first question that you're going to start answering in the chat box, as well as unmuting yourself, is what are your learnings after going through the book? And the second one, how can you connect it to the syllabus? Jo bhi hum kar rahe hain, it should be connected to the syllabus as well, of course. So how can you connect it to the syllabus? Please start answering in the chat box quickly. And if somebody wants to unmute themselves and answer, they can. Harshada, go ahead.
So my learnings from the book are, let it be democracy or monarchy, the people, the citizens don't get any benefit.
Right. Waiting for a few more people to start answering. Vedika says Animal Farm is meant as a commentary on how humans act in society. Its deep meaning is to alert ordinary people to how hearted and unscrupulous leaders can take advantage of an entire population. Inequality, we learn about socialism, communism. There's no one government. Inequality, communism. My learnings from book are communism, socialism, laws related to our life. It's connected. Marxism, inequality, it's connected to syllabus. Amazing. I love how you are communicating in the chat box. Minorities always suffer everywhere, right? More a pessimistic view, but yeah, that's your perspective. Definitely. My learnings are one party rule, dialects of history. Very important. It is related to your, now how are you connecting it to the syllabus? In the first chapter, we studied historiography, and it is definitely connected to your syllabus, right? We are studying social and political movements right now. And we also studied historiography, and that we studied thesis, antithesis, dialects. So what is all of this? This is all connected to each other. The book shows how the communist movement starts with talk about, okay, about letting everyone have a voice in their own lives. Right and left wings are not right, okay? Discriminate between two people. Class struggles, very important. Gender inequality, class struggle, right? Okay, all right, great. Very, very happy to read all of this. Anybody else who wants to unmute themselves and answer? Different thinking of people. I love the in-depth understanding of each and every group member. Discrimination between majority and minority, great. I would like to give Sakshi Patil's group a plus 50. And also Kavya's group. I learned that power can change your outlook. Absolutely. Major takeaway, power can change your outlook. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next section now, right? Please keep on engaging with the chat section. Discrimination, great. Great. Let's move on to the next section now. Right, in the next section, this is a much more student-led section. So there are analogies that are going to be drawn by each group. Now, this is work that you have done as groups. This is work that you did on the back end, and this is a result of that, right? So these are just analogies that are going to be drawn by each group. Now, there are some instructions for this section, right? What are the others expected to do? Although you have already worked in the group, लेकिन आपको और क्या करना है? You will be looking at analogies that stood out strongly to you and noted down in the notebook. Keep the chat box active and engaging. As one person is presenting or anybody else, any group is presenting, the others are requested to point out what stood out to them strongly. What is it that they saw coming out very, very strongly? And please note it down in your notebook as well, because as a part of your assignment, you require it. Right, so shall we begin? We will start with Vedika's group first. Then moving on, I will just keep on telling you which group is next. The others, you need to put your critical thinking caps on and make sure that you are communicating. Right, Vedika, can we start?
So our group will be presenting 4 analogy points. So let's begin. The book First, we will talk about the discrimination on basis of education. The book specifically stated that pigs were only who were educated. Rest all animals were illiterate. And because of this, and the same way, some years ago, the upper caste people were the only educated squad. Rest caste were not educated. They misused their education. They used to tell anything to common people in common public in the names of divine. Due to their education, in both scenario, the pigs as well as the upper caste exploited the people.
Throughout the whole book, we came to know that Napoleon was a dictator and he used to always force animals to work and didn't thought of their welfare. In same way, so did Kim Jong from North Korea. He has even put he has even put restriction on the haircut of the people living there. We also compared the animal farm book with the Erdogan from Turkey. He was the president of Turkey and he exploited his power and the people living there. Same did the Hitler.
Thank you so much, Vedika and Harshada. I am truly amazed as to how you have brought out different connections, how you have brought out caste-based discrimination as well as maybe dictatorship when it comes to all these things. I'm truly amazed by that. Now, can you please point out what are the, can others point out what are the things that stood out strongly to you? What are the things that stood out strongly to you? Rahul, you can answer. Rahul, go ahead.
So, Didi, from my point of view, the point stood out strongly was the taunted that compared between the Hitler and the Pigs were dictators and having different power location and using misuse of the power.
Great. Okay. Thank you. We can have Aditya. Aditya, go ahead.
Didi, the thing that strongly stood out to me was that the government, like the pigs who were the rulers, they had very long term powers, so they started with a good ideology, and
Aditya,
then
what
they
stood out to you in this article, Aditya? I will interrupt you. What stood out to you in this article? So some people are writing caste discrimination, caste.
yes. Like caste, it was caste discrimination, and there was too much.
Right, got it. Thank you.
There were too much religion. It was very religion based.
Right, absolutely. So what stood out to me in this article are these points. You can choose to write it down or maybe take a screenshot of it. Obviously, this PPT will be put up on Google Classroom, but you still need to keep on writing it down so that you don't forget it later. Sumit, you want to say something?
Yes, Didi. So by reading this article, what stood up to me on basis that Donald Trump and Barack Obama, Donald Trump is also what we say racist. He does do racism and do color discrimination. At Barack Obama's period of time when he was a president of USA,
Okay.
he told, I don't want any discrimination on black Americans, white Americans. This is a United States of America. And second thing of and when we used to say of Donald Trump, he is only allowing white Americans, not black Americans.
Right. You can't say only allowing. You can't say only allowing, but it's your perspective, definitely from whatever you have seen or whatever you have read, of course. But I like the analogy of Obama, and I like that you're connecting it to the class and the videos that were shown in the classroom. Right. So good job. Let's move on. There are 3 more groups to go, so we need to listen to everybody else. And I like that. Again, I love that the chat box is very, very, very engaging. Right. So now we have Lohita and Malhar. Lohita and Malhar, your time starts now. Are you ready?
Didi, so I'm starting off.
Yes.
So we will be mainly covering 3 topics, which is discriminatory systems, the democracy and the monarchy system, and being a democracy does not change much. So first of all, we'll start by saying about the discriminatory systems. So in specific out here, I would like to bring out this one specific rule mentioned in the animal farm, which was all animals are equal. but later it was changed by Napoleon to all animals are equal but some are more equal. I think this specific part could be clearly related to the entire world and the discriminatory systems present in each and every country. It may it be different types of discriminatory systems like race or maybe gender or maybe castes and religions and etc. All those are definitely applicable out here. Even minorities and majorities play a major role out here. For example, the Uyghur Muslim minorities in China. So moving on to our next point, which is democracy and the monarchy system. Here I would like to put out that may it be a democracy or a hierarchical system, the book wants to clearly state that it does not make any difference. So here we can clearly see that Napoleon, according to the book, Napoleon was playing a role in a democratical manner, and Mr. Jones was playing a character where he was being assumed to be in a monarchy. But both the rulers, when they were ruling the animal farm, or when they were taking care of animal farm, both did not care much about like the animals out there. So that could be related to the real life situation. Moving on, being a democracy does not change much. So here I want to state that like the Socrates, even like the Socrates points of views. Here I just want to say that maybe a democracy does not change much according to the monarchy. The disadvantages and benefits are almost the same. Humans are affected either ways. So I would like to say that maybe like instead of having this old the democracy and the monarchy system, there could be always experimenting on new systems and they could be always improved.
Thank you, Lohita. That was quite an in-depth analysis. There's something that, I have started thinking after listening to that. There is something that struck a chord with me as well, because I did not think like that. It was a great analysis. And I really liked three strong points that came out to me were these: how you put discriminatory systems, the democracy and monarchy systems, and changing the definition of democracy. It is a very revolutionary idea. It is something that is very that's not thought of. Great work with that. Yashpal, you raised your hand. Do you want to state what were the strong points about this outline of the news article?
Yes, Didi, I also want to state that. Uh, so when Lohita also said that democracy doesn't change a lot, so it's a right thing we are watching from many times. It has become around 75 to 74 years we have gotten independence, and we are only fighting for democracy and justice, but nothing has changed. It's through that India is getting developed, but not developing, but it's not getting developed. So there is always a discriminatory system between the caste and class system. So if there is a democracy, there will not be a justice, and if we are in the power, we will misuse it. Will not use it for people.
Right. I agree with this point of view. I mean, I would say it does. I would say that it does make sense, but at the same time, we can't completely deny that there has been no development. There has been good points also. There has been many good points, not good points, many good points. So we have to learn from that and obviously criticize to make sure that we get better. Right. Right. Yeah. Is there anybody else who wants to add? I just have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
This
Yes,
presentation.
Didi.
Harsavan, go ahead.
So, Didi, like in the book Animal Farm, Orwell uses the animals to highlight the hardships of working classes.
Right.
He has used the metaphor of animal to show the people, and it is a very interesting novel.
We will be covering this in your outline as well. So let's go on. Let's move on. Right. So next I have Kavya and Arya. I'll be playing your PPT, and please make sure that you adhere to the time limit. Right. Right. I can see so many of you sharing hands, but it's difficult to. It'll be difficult to make sure that everybody else comes in. Just a minute. Kavya, I hope that you're ready.
Yes.
Minute. due to time constraint, I will not be able to take all the. Yeah, go ahead, Kavya. Your time starts now.
In the animal farm, there was a pig called Old Major, who had worked for the animals, and similarly to the Republic of China's first. I can compare it to the Republic of China's first president, Sun Yat-sen. So he was the leader of revolutionary movement of 1911. Now talking about the Manor Farm. So now talking about the Manor Farm, the owner of Manor Farm, Mr. John, is similar to Emperor Pui, the last emperor of Qing dynasty. During revolution, the Qing kingdom had become bankrupt. Due to this, the Qing army could fight the uprising and lost their rule.
Right. You have to be a little bit fast. Yeah, go ahead. Kavya, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, after death of Old Major, two pigs become the leaders, Snowball and Napoleon. Snowball can be compared to the commander-chief of Qing Kingdom Army Yuan Shikai, who then after the lost support of Republic of China.
Napoleon, who then killed Snowball. Similarly, the Communist Party of China beat or ruled out the Republic of China. Here, Napoleon is similar to the first chairman of Communist Party of China, Mao Zedong, or Chairman Mao. He ruled China like a dictator till his death. His little red book was published with all his rules for his country. Mr. Fredrickson, the owner of other farm, can be similar to Kim Tu-sung, the first premier or dictator of North Korea. Both nations had trade relations where, with the help of Mao, Kim Sung-tu broke the Korean peninsula into two parts and ensured his rule in North Korea.
Right, I'm going to stop you here, and what we're going to do is, because of constraint of time, I'm going to stop you here. So I like how they have drawn the comparison to now they've gone back in history. As I told you, its relevance stands in all spheres and areas. You can see the relevance standing everywhere. So I like that how they have done that, and how they have taken it to the first president, that's Sun Yat-sen, right? So this point came out strongly to me. I'm going to move on to the last group, Rupesh and Harsavant's group. Rupesh and Harsavant, go ahead. Your time starts now.
Good evening, my dear friends. Our analogies from the book Animal Farm are Marxism and communism. The Animal Farm is related to the theory of Karl Marx. Class struggle began to happen after Napoleon the pig became the leader of the Animal Farm and makes pigs the higher class as exploiting the other classes, which were the other animals of the animal farm, and they were proved to be the lower classes. So according to me, the animal farm is very closely related in the 21st century, because the higher classes and the generation went on becoming higher and higher, and the lower classes went on becoming lower and lower. Hence we need to avoid class struggle, and everyone should be gaining money as per their abilities. Now I would hand it over to Harsavant to take the same.
Harsavant, you have 30 seconds.
Good evening, everyone. George Orwell himself said that it is related to Russian evolution, and if we relate, then there are same situation everywhere in government, where during voting, president said that all are equal, but when it becomes real, then that does not follow what he said. Like Napoleon, he said all animals are equal, but afterward he make all pigs superior. And animal situation is like citizens where they are cheated. So Napoleon the pig, he gave more attention towards the pig, and thus pigs used to eat more, and he so taught pigs some things like education. He also said that statement all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. So I can relate. This novel basically talks about class struggle, equality and inequality, power control, etc. Animals' unhappiness represents the class struggle. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I like the in-depth, I like how you have gone absolutely in depth into the personalities as well and try to relate it to the personalities of the characters in the book to real life examples. It is very, very, very good work. And some of you are answering the questions as to what is standing out. Harsh Sharma, do you want to say something?
Yes, Didi.
Yes, go ahead, Harsh Sharma.
Yeah, I want to relate it to animal farm to the China country.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what was talked about from Kavya's group also, and that is exactly what some of them pointed out as well.
China country is doing chemical war in lockdown. Means we are dying in lockdown. They are doing party. They want to control the world and they want to attack after the lockdown.
Right, right. There are a lot of conspiracy theories, and I'm sure that you're reading a lot of conspiracy theories, and you could relate it to some parts, but again, not certain. Thank you, Harsh Sharma. You can mute yourself now.
Also,
you can mute yourself now, Harsh Sharma. Thank you. Yeah. So let me read more. There are some people who are saying that how Harshada is saying something that stood out to me, the connections that made and went into in history. Then I like the analogy that they made with China, as Harsh Sharma also rightly pointed out. Then they made a good comparison with Sunyat, with old major. Very good. People are prone towards suffering. Okay, everyone should. Okay, all right. I like the thing that are compared to Karl Marx. Now, Marxism you have studied in the first chapter of history in historiography, right? It's you will not understand it just like that. You need to understand. To truly understand it, you need to read a lot. You need to understand the nitty gritties of it. जो छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं, वो आपको अच्छे से या समझ आनी चाहिए, तभी आपको समझ आएगा. Otherwise you will not understand class struggle, right? Now, as far as participation goes, I don't think that I need to point out anyone because everybody is participating very well. Now we move on to the last section of this lesson. I'm just getting a little distracted because of all the comments that are coming along. Harsh Sharma, I will give you time to talk by the end of the lesson. Right, so now we are just going to watch a video, a nice video, a light video. Now this video, why I'm showing you this video, this rapper, I can compare it to the character of Benjamin. If the book would have continued, I would like to say that, I can compare him to Benjamin, right? So let's watch the video. Rupesh, you have something to say? 30 seconds to say it.
Didi, I just wanted to say.
Yeah. Okay, Rupesh, what we'll do is that after I'm done, then I can take all the takeaways, right? I know that all of you are very excited to share so many analogies from last 4-5 days. I have heard so many analogies, but just wait, watch the video for 2 minutes, and after that we will carry on the discussion. Can you all see my screen? Please give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. No? Wait a minute. Let me share my screen. Yeah. Now can you see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen.
Bora Badula Rock! Saka! Jabate, Saka! Jabate, Saka! Jabate, Sun! Saka! Jabate, Saka! Jabate, Saka! Jabate, Sun! Bora Badula Rock! जल्दी घर घर के पूछा बात बॉस ने बोले कमर इलेक्शन प्रचार करें मान के केनोएसी सरकार जवाब दे सरकार जवाब दे सरकार जवाब दे
Right. I hope you enjoyed this. This video became completely viral a few months back. This person who is talking, his name is rapper Dool Rocker. He is also, he's a BSc, but he works as a laborer. He works as a migrant worker. I think Malhar pointed out very rightly. Malhar pointed out that laborer is equal to boxer in the book because the owner uses them as per their purpose. Yes. So that's exactly what I said. I could relate this to Benjamin if the book would have continued, right? He's talking about the things that they suffer because the problems that they suffer, the problems that they face because of the issues that that are happening right now. And he's talking from his brothers and sisters perspective, right? So I think I could relate it to that. And yes, Trupti, it was in Odia. Can you please type in the chat box any suggestions that, any opinions, any suggestions, what you felt after watching the video? Yes, I think all this online teaching has made you expert texters. All of you are writing such big, yeah. Okay, so we are going to move on to the last part, which is please share your major takeaways from this lesson. Before you share your takeaways, my takeaways, there are some major political, social events that can be connected to this lesson, that can be connected to the book. And I learned so much through your research efforts. I think the kind of efforts that you put in, the research that you put in, it has opened my eyes to a lot of new things that we can talk about and discuss about. And I like how some of you just went into a completely solution-oriented approach, which is very important when we are doing analysis. Very, very important, because you are identifying a problem. Although I would request that, it's always good to take from whatever's happening good. It's good to take from that and then also form your opinions as well, right? So please share your major takeaways from the lecture. You can unmute yourself and answer as well.
Didi, can I?
Yes, go ahead. Trupti?
No, Didi, Sakshi.
Sakshi, go ahead.
So Didi, from this lecture, I major takeaways that I learned many things, that how we want to be equality, how we want to be like equal in a world, like be a friends, like make a friends, do not do like you are not my best friend, or you are like this. Like Didi, we have very less facilities to in our country or in other countries also, but
Right.
we do not want to judge anyone,
Right.
or discriminate anyone, and be a good friends and be a good helper.
Vedika, thank you, Sakshi. Vedika, go ahead. I'm going to ask you to say it quickly. Vedika, go ahead.
I just wanted to add that while doing the research, I found out that the Animal Farm book was banned by some of the countries like Cuba, then North Korea and Soviet Union, as the government didn't wanted the public to know the reality.
Oh, right. I think you share it with me as well. And yeah, a lot of research would require for you to come to all these conclusions. And good that you did that research. Yes, it is, because it's quite revolutionary. It's quite thought-provoking. Anybody else? Thank you, Vedika, for sharing that. Anybody else who wants to share?
Can I?
Trupti or Saili?
Saili.
Your hand. Saili, go ahead.
Didi, I learned that we do not want to discriminate and misuse our power that we are getting from public and common people, and we do not want to trouble them and solve their problem by understanding their problems and what they are facing. So we do not want to misuse our power. We want to help by that power to them.
Very, very important. Very, very important. Lohita, have you raised your hand? No, Lohita has not raised her hand. Trupti, go ahead.
ये कंपनी का लेटर लेके हुआ
Put yourself on mute, whoever is not on mute. Trupti, go ahead.
Didi, my point of view was that the problems of all people are same, but because of the class struggle and the discrimination between classes, uh, that is why we are not developing. And some people are saying that we have to we have to develop little bit, but I think we have to develop more, but not in technology, but in mindset.
Very nice. Thank you. Last I'm taking from Loita, and after that we are done with the session. Loita, quickly, you have 30 seconds, Loita.
So I think that this all my major takeaways are that made be any kind of a democracy or a monarchy, the more preference should be for the people, and anything like analyzing things is like very important. And then I think that this book could also go really well with alongside with Socrates' opinions. And then my last point is that the soldiers in the movie 1917 can also be very much related to the animals who were being who were under the rule of Napoleon and the other animals.
Great. Thank you so much. We are done with this. Thank you so much. We are done with this lesson. And for your assignment, I will be putting it up on. I'll be putting it up on Google Classroom as well. You are supposed to submit the full newspaper article. The due date is 13th October. Already you have worked on the outline completely. Go through first 2 pages of chapter 4 political science. Make sure you submit your takeaways and learnings from each group, and also what could have been done better, right? I will be putting it up on Google Classroom, so you can obviously see the details, but these are the 3 things that you need to submit by 13th October. And thank you so much for this lecture. Right. I can see you guys are still putting so many things in the chat box. Right. Yes, Emma, we are done.
So students, you can now drop off from the call. Thank you so much for sharing so many of your opinions, insights, and connections between the world and the world of Animal Farm. So thank you. It was really interesting to hear all of those connections.
Right. You can all start dropping off now.
So as the students are all dropping off, Yugina and I are going to we'll just let her catch her breath for a second. We're going to engage in a short debrief conversation, and this is just an opportunity to hear some of Yugina's reflections today on the learning of her students, and for her to share with us some of the things that are enabling the learning of her students that we met today. So we'll just let the students drop off the call, and then Yugina and I will jump into that conversation. The chat box is awash with beautiful appreciation for you and your students, Yugina.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you. Yeah, I'm good to go. I mean, whenever it's fine.
So Yugina, today, your students were sharing analogies between George Orwell's Animal Farm and the political and social movements that they are learning about in their political science chapter. What were you hoping to see in the analogies that they were sharing and the justifications of these? What were you hoping to hear?
Right. So I was hoping for a very holistic perspective and not just one particular perspective. I was hoping that, I would have them having opinions from everywhere and anywhere and relating it to a lot of systems, like as I mentioned in the class before as well. And I was happy to see that they were actually able to make those kind of connections, and they were actually able to connect it to the previous classes that we have done, and also do their research and do their analysis to come up with these analogies as well.
And how do you see this lesson and the kind of learning that was happening in this lesson? How does this connect to the bigger vision of your work with your students? Like, what's the connection for you with what you're overall working towards?
Right. So as I mentioned before, this was a very advanced class. We have already done the groundwork, and we've already discussed the political and social movements, and we've done all of that. This was a more advanced class, and I really wanted to see some great analysis and analogies being drawn, and the kind of understanding that it would lead to is that, when I have other structures in the classroom, for example, if I have a parliamentary debate, which we do have on Mondays, so all these things would be a great foundation for them to have a much more higher understanding, much more higher level of understanding as to those topics. And the kind of debates that we have are definitely about what is happening what is happening in the country, what's happening in the world. And I just feel that this would lead to a much more refined understanding of what they actually believe in.
And when Ellie introduced you, she talked a little bit about the difference between social studies and social science. Like, what is it that you think is the purpose of learning social science?
The purpose of learning social science is to understand that it is not just a subject that you can do one day before and just get done with it. No, it is not that. You can connect social science to everything. As I've always said that, what is political is personal. So if you are studying something, if the kind of education system that we have, we owe a lot of it to the social science that we have, the politics that we have. So it's very important that we become aware of those, of that understanding. We become aware of that thinking, that, all that is leading to this. So it's all connected. I like to connect social science to science and the other literature or different subjects that they have. For example, reading Animal Farm would again help them immensely in drawing allegories for literature as well, right? So it has to be a much more holistic vision of social science and not social studies. Why? Because I want them to build that scientific temper and that analytical temper when it comes to studying social science.
So something that really, there was lots of things actually that really stood out to me as I listened to your students. Like, one was just their ability to make a lot of connections now between the text and a lot of different systems in the world that they are learning about, whether that be here or in other countries around the world. So one was just the connections and the kind of exposure they have to what's going on in the world. The second was just the kind of language that they were using, the kind of keywords, I guess, through their conversation, very big concepts they were talking about. And I just wondered if you could share a little bit about how have you approached building that kind of exposure with your students to so many different things that's going on in the world, and what does it take from you as an educator to be able to do that?
Right, very good question. So my idea is that, that everybody should be taken together. So if it's an advanced class, I don't want only a set of students to be answering. I don't want only a set of students to be included in this advanced class. So what is important is that, I try to break down content. For example, if somebody is not able to read the text, so I ask them to watch the movie, which is a great movie explaining in 1 hour. You can actually understand what the book is about, and then move on to reading the book. So breaking down content is one thing. The next thing is having different structures for everyone in class. So even if I'm planning a lecture like this, some students will feel connected to the rapping bit. Some students will feel connected to the groups bit, and some students might feel connected to the learning or taking away whatever they're taking away from it bit. So when I'm planning a lesson, I make sure that there is something for everyone. It is including each and every student in the classroom, and not just a section in the classroom, which is very important. Different structures that I have, for example, they read the newspaper in the classroom now, of course, because of the lockdown, but also we also get into it, and we try to decode foreign policies in the classroom, having a debate in the classroom, then connecting. We also co-teach. So Shankar and me, we would co-teach in the classroom. So if he's teaching science and he would be like, today I think that I'm going to connect it to history. So why don't you come in? So all these little things over 3 years now, I've been with them, this is my 3rd year with them. All these little things has led to that change, having different structures to make sure that everyone is included, basically having a packet where everyone has something to look forward to.
Yeah. And what's it taken from you as a like social studies, like science teacher? Like, what are some of your practices to like keep your own like exposure very high?
Right. So read the newspaper daily, of course. Read the textbook, very important. Go through the chapter and plan a week in advance. So it's very difficult to make connections like that. You can't just do it one day before or one night before and think that you'll be able to make those connections. It takes some time to make those connections, and while you're planning as well, you will come across something. For example, I read that quote by Shekhar Gupta on Twitter. So that was so you would come across these little things which you can only connect if you read the chapter carefully. That's how you're going to amalgamate syllabus, 10th grade syllabus, the important 10th grade syllabus, and also access and exposure. So reading the chapter, then breaking down the chapter, making sure that I am providing enough structures, enough strategies for everyone. I think these are some things that I do. Group work, of course. Group work is integral to our whole teaching because it trickles down the learning.
So it's been a big shift for everybody, from an in-person classroom to a virtual classroom. And for your students, like, it's come at a very critical point in their schooling, as they're like approaching 10th grade. What I thought was really interesting as I've engaged with your students and you is that it just seems to be such a lot of learning that your students are doing by themselves or asynchronously outside of these like virtual classroom spaces. And I wondered if you could just share a little bit about, one is, what if we take today's lesson, what is the kind of work that they did as preparation? What did they do by themselves? But secondly is like, what you and your co-fellow Ravi Shankar have been working with these students now for 3 years, almost 3 years. Like, what are some of the practices that you've built together to enable your students to learn more independently?
Right. I cannot focus enough on the last part that I said in the previous bit, group work. It is very important to leverage on group work. Group work helps us in a physical classroom. Group work has helped us in a blended offline teaching classroom as well. That is something that we leverage on continuously. In a group as well, you need to appoint people who can trickle down that knowledge, and you can only do it after a period of time, knowing your students who are able to break it down for the others and who are not able to break it down for the others. So that's something that we leverage on. Apart from that, just making sure that whenever we are in the classroom, they are exposed to various sources, not just one source, not just one opinion. I have no intention of making sure that that my opinion should be that by the end of their 10th grade they should start talking like me. No, that's not what I want. I want them to think on their own, and that's exactly why I make sure I tell them that that you have to expose yourself to different sources. And how do we do that? We do that during the classes. So we will have videos from TED-Ed, we would have videos from Vox, and if somebody likes reading, then we would have something like this, something like going through the text of George Orwell. So it's like a complete package of different things catering to everyone. That's something that we do. And apart from that, a lot of reflection and accountability. So even after the work is given to them, there is always a check as to what's the progress. How are you doing? What is it that you're doing? Can you get back to me? And that's completely done by the people that we appoint. Now, the students that we appoint, basically. Now, sometimes it happens that maybe they do not, they don't feel comfortable in doing it, or they don't find it very engaging. But that is also communicated to us, and we try to work on those shortcomings as well, right? but most importantly, just doing a lot of things in the classroom so that they take it back when they're home. So, you know, we would have them sending us newspaper articles, or we would have them sending us interesting videos all the time, because they are also getting they're getting exposed to that kind of content through the classroom teaching lesson plans that we have, and also talking to their peers about it.
Thank you so much. You know, it was so beautiful to see your students just share so many opinions, and I felt there was such a lot of safety in your classroom where students were able to share opinions that maybe you didn't agree with, but it was safe for them to share, and you gave them the space to share those, acknowledge those opinions. And I think it was a really beautiful classroom to be part of. So thank you so much for giving us that peek into your classroom today.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of our time together. And so as we close this masterclass, I'd love to invite our audience just to share in the chat box any one strategy or insight that you are taking away for yourself and your work. Thank you so much, Yugina, and to all of your students as well.
Thank you so much. It was an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yugina. Thank you so much, Emma, for the last 3 days being here, doing all the debrief. Yugina, it's wonderful to have your students here. I think the discussion was quite active. I also sent you some pictures of the chat. And I think the best part was the audience were engaging with the lesson. They were not viewing the lesson, they were participating in the lesson. It was very active, and a lot of people knew about this book. So they were sharing their reflections about the book. It was wonderful to see that. Thank you so much.